Oh yeah, this is AppenRoid Talks About Wrestling, baby. Just come on in and open up your ears and enjoy the ride. Yeah.
You're recording too, right?
Yes, I'm recording.
Awesome.
Yes.
Awesome. So last night, I gotta tell you, man, last night I slept like a log. And I woke up right in the fireplace.
Where do you come up with this stuff? That's what I want to know. I want to know where you come up with this stuff.
Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of AppenRoid Talks About Wrestling.
Yes, welcome.
I'm your host. I am Rue, and with me, as always, is...
I'm Archie. I'm apprehensive about doing this because of that terrible joke that you just said. Awful. Absolutely awful.
Okay, well, last week's joke was epic. I was trying to, keep it with the same kind of quality as the last one.
Last week you about gave me a heart attack.
I was talking about the Sean Connery joke.
Oh, the Sean Connery joke. Okay, yes, that was. I told that joke to my father-in-law last night.
What did he say?
I thought it was pretty funny. Finish.
Well, then tell him this joke. Why can't you hear a pterodactyl go to the bathroom?
Why?
The P is silent.
God. I will make sure that I tell him that joke.
Okay, so back to the point of this podcast.
We're about 2 minutes in and we haven't done nothing.
Okay. Well, we quite a bit of news lately. The one that really sticks out to me lately is a gentleman by the name of Cesar Sosa decided to break into a house to rob it along with another person, and little did they know that it belonged to a pro wrestler. And Daniel Bryan and his wife Brie Bella came home to see that their house is being burglarized, and the burglars ran off, and Daniel Bryan got a hold of Cesar and held him in a submission hold until the cops came to arrest him.
It was a rear naked choke, I believe, wasn't it?
I believe so. Yeah. Did you see the press conference that they had with the police officer?
I saw a little bit of it, and I heard one of the reporters asking him if he put him in the yes lock or something. So I thought I got a little chuckle out of that, but I didn't watch the entire thing. I just kind of saw the first few minutes of it or whatnot. I didn't really care to watch the whole thing, but it was just it was just funny. It was just funny listening to that reporter ask him if he put him in the yes lock.
I was kind of shocked because I was starting to watch it, and I saw that it was like 20 minutes long. I'm like, really? Do we need 20 minutes to go over exactly what happened? Because it sounds pretty cut and dry. You know?
It is pretty cut and dry. That's why I don't think I'll watch the entire thing, because I saw that it was like 20 minutes. And I was like, I don't really think I need to sit here and listen to... like, if this was anybody else, there wouldn't be a press conference about it. It was just a home invasion, and you don't see like Joe Schmo like stand up. What if they had a press conference for every home that has ever been broken into?
Oh, good Lord, that'd be hilarious. Not hilarious, not hilarious for people to get broken into, but hilarious to have a press conference every single time it happens. But obviously they had a press conference because they wanted to stay ahead of it, and there's no way in the world they could hide it, considering that both Bryan and Brie are both in the WWE, so best just to go ahead and directly say it. And they actually even used their real names too. They didn't even use their character names.
They actually used their real names, Bryan Danielson, and they actually said Brie. They said Brie Danielson. They didn't even say Bella, did they?
They called her Brianna.
Brianna, Danielson. Yeah, Brianna Danielson.
Yeah, so I thought it was a pretty funny story. And Daniel's like, yeah, this is kind of unusual for me. I'm not usually speaking in front of a large group of people with clothes on or something like that.
Yeah. So then he said, usually I'm wearing some tights.
So that was pretty interesting news. Hey, I guess it's a warning to anyone who robs the place. Make sure you run faster if someone comes home. You don't know whose home you're breaking into.
Yeah, you never know. You never know whose home you're going to be breaking into. So that was very interesting this week.
Yeah. So that actually ties into the next story. A match was made for SummerSlam, and it actually involves Brie Bella. And she's going to be wrestling Stephanie McMahon at SummerSlam. And I gotta say, I'm not looking forward to that match at all.
It's another it's another gimmick type match. It's basically just to further a storyline, or in my opinion, it may just end to have an ending to the storyline. But I like the storyline that they're going with. I just don't like the fact that it's a match, that it's a match between those two. You know what I mean? I mean, Stephanie McMahon could easily, be doing what she has been doing, which is using, the other female heel wrestlers to kind of, to impose Stephanie's will. Usually it's been on Nikki because Brie hasn't been around, so Nikki's been getting the punishment, for what Brie had done. So, honestly, it doesn't surprise me that it's gonna end as a match, or those two are ending up in the ring together. But it's just gonna be another one of those. It's not gonna be a wrestling match, and that's I'm just not looking forward to that.
Me neither. I look at it as, considering that they've established that they've established in WWE programming that Brie and Bryan are married. So to me, it's just another extension of Daniel Bryan versus Triple H. Now their wives are getting into it, and in all honesty, I mean, it just came out recently that Daniel Bryan is going to be out probably until January due to some nerve damage that he's suffering right now. So I'm thinking, why keep this going? Why not just let the storyline rest? Let Brie do her own thing, and then tie in, Daniel Bryan when he's actually physically able to do something.
Right.
He's still recovering from neck surgery, and Triple H is busy doing other things right now, so it doesn't really make sense to me to have this going on. And Stephanie has not been in the ring for a long time, and even when she was actively taking part physically in matches, she wasn't that great either. But, I don't know, just to have that end Raw this past Monday seemed really odd to me.
Yeah. I mean, I understand that they kind of want us to. I think what it is since Daniel Bryan is gone, they don't want us to forget about him, and this is their way of their way of trying to get the fans to not forget about Daniel Bryan, even though they have no current plans, in their storylines for him, which makes sense because he's not going to be around until probably January. But I think this is their way of still keeping Daniel Bryan in the fans' minds, by using Brie. And, which I understand. But at the same time, people aren't going to forget about Daniel Bryan.
No, they're not.
They're not going to forget about him. I mean, if he comes back, as a surprise entrant, like in the Royal Rumble of next year, the place is going to go absolutely crazy. So, I'm hoping that he can come back in January. Well, like they said, the timetable, and that it doesn't keep getting pushed back. But if I'm really hoping for a surprise entrant in next year's Royal Rumble.
Now, keep in mind also, WWE likes to blow up the injury of any face, so that way when they do return, that's a big surprise. I mean, look what they did with John Cena when he entered the Royal Rumble in 2008. We heard from his pectoral injury that he was going to be gone for a long time. bam, he shows up at Royal Rumble 4 months after being gone. It just turns out that they blew up his injury. I mean, he was seriously injured.
Yeah,
just that
was.
They made it worse than it sounded, or worse than what it actually was.
Well, he's Superman, don't you know?
Oh yeah, that's right, Super Cena. Yeah, he Super Cena's any injury. Is what
you're terrible. You're terrible. Good Lord. Absolutely terrible.
What did I say? One match that I am looking forward to.
I'm still your friend because I don't understand.
Well, speaking of SummerSlam, there's one match that I'm increasingly looking forward to, and it's just based on the fact of how they're building up one half of this match. It's Dean Ambrose versus Seth Rollins. Dean Ambrose is getting a huge, huge push, and it all started for me when he beat Cesaro on SmackDown, and it was a no holds bars match, and then Seth Rollins got involved, and Dean Ambrose still got the victory. I thought that was huge. I thought it was really big for him, and he's really coming into his own. I'm not sure if I can buy him as a face at this point, but I really like what I see from him.
Well, it actually really surprised me that they're pushing Dean Ambrose as a face, because he plays the heel role so well, and but I think that was kind of a cool thing, a cool twist that they did by turning Seth Rollins, because everybody expected it to be Dean Ambrose to turn. Everybody expected that. Nobody expected Seth Rollins to be the one to turn. And the fact that Dean Ambrose is getting, the fans behind him, he is so over right now, it's ridiculous, and it's for the fans to rally around him as a face, that really to me goes to show just how much of Dean Ambrose as a wrestler, as a performer, as a character. Just how well he does what he does, and I've been sold on Dean Ambrose ever since OVW, when it was OVW, and then also in NXT. I've been sold on his character, and who he is, because he just plays that, he kind of has that just snaky old villainy type feel to him. You know what I mean? It's like it's almost like he's just like slips right through your fingers. He's just got that raw talent, and sometimes, and that's hard to teach. And he just knows how to work the mic. He knows how to work the crowd. He knows how to wrestle, for one thing, and he's just got everything going for him right now. And for him to be a face, like I said, is just absolutely incredible, because he plays the heel so well, because he is so easy to hate or to dislike. But his style, everyone's loving his style right now, and more power to him, because it's working for him.
Yeah, I see him, and he's got a unique style that no one else has right now. But the other thing about his character that I like, it's about his character I like more than just his style. I see a Brian Pillman in the type of character he's portraying.
Exactly. And like the loose cannon.
I loved Brian Pillman. Absolutely, I loved Brian Pillman. I thought he was fantastic, especially when he was playing the loose cannon role. So I like what I see, and you've been trying to sell me on Dean Ambrose back when he was in OVW, or was it Florida? Or OVW. I can't remember.
See, that's the thing. I can't remember if it was FCW or if it was OVW. I'm trying to remember which one it was. But it was a developmental territory. You told me to keep checking him out and everything, and and I did, and I saw, I was impressed, but he was also around Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns, and I really wasn't focusing on him. I was focusing on the whole group. But now that I'm seeing him and seeing exactly what he's doing, especially being on his own and getting a huge victory over Cesaro,
I'm actually looking forward to seeing his match with Seth Rollins. Seth has really grown into a really good heel. I think they gave him the Money in the Bank contract a little soon, but the more and more I see Seth Rollins, the more and more I'm going to get convinced that he could be a credible world champion if they actually give it to him when he cashes it in.
And this is what I'm hoping with Seth Rollins is, I felt like you, I kind of felt like maybe they gave him the briefcase a little too soon, but I'm hoping that he just holds on to that briefcase for a really, really long time. It's like that's what I'm hoping. I don't want him to cash it in too soon. I'm hoping that I want him to hold on to it. I don't care if he has it obviously he has to cash it in before Money in the Bank next year, because otherwise we'd have two people with briefcases, and that would make absolutely no sense. But I'm hoping that he waits and whether or not he becomes champion or not, that's too early to tell for me. Whether or not, I obviously I think it's too soon for him to have the title. But as time goes on, I want to see him develop more, and hopefully that he doesn't cash it in just soon and just loses. And loses his chance. I hope that he's able to hold on to that briefcase for a while and have a legitimate chance. I want there to be a legitimate wrestling match, with a cash in, but with the character he's playing, the heel that he's playing, more than likely he's going to cash it in on somebody who's knocked out.
Right. And, I don't know. This is one of those times that I'm actually really excited to see how the Money in the Bank contract is going to play out.
Yeah,
I agree with you. I think he should wait till at least after the Rumble to try to cash it in. That's a lot of time for him to build himself up. He'll have a program with Dean Ambrose. It's possible he'll have a program with another top star after that. But what I see already is the makings of a star. He's good on the mic. He's really great in the ring. I mean, his style is very risk taking. So I mean, it's going to be, I don't know. He could refine it, but I don't want him to take away too much from it, because that's exactly who he is. I mean, that's what brought him to the dance in the first place. So I don't know. I see a star. And as a matter of fact, I feel that he is more of a shining star than Roman Reigns and Dean Ambrose is right now. And he's the one of the three of the former Shield that I see being a future world champion within the next year.
Yeah.
And that's saying a lot considering the talent of Roman Reigns and Dean Ambrose. But it's just I'm really looking forward to the match. I'm really looking forward to seeing the finish. Who's going to go over at SummerSlam? That's what the big question. I think why it's a big question now is because Dean Ambrose got that victory over Cesaro with Seth Rollins getting involved in the match. And now it just puts it to the point that it's not just the Seth Rollins show. It's now Dean Ambrose is actually going to have a real chance. And so this is one of those matches where it's just I don't know what's going to happen. I really don't. I can tell you right now that I am 100% confident that Lesnar is going to beat John Cena at SummerSlam.
Oh, I believe he is too. Because apparently Cena's got some movies that he's got to film. So.
Oh, well, there you go.
So, I mean, I mean, there's 2 movies or something like that he's filming that he's going to be in. So.
The Marine 5 and.
The Marine 5.
And what was that other one? Is it now a sequel to 12 Rounds or something like that?
No, 13 rounds. No, Randy Orton did 13 rounds. I think he was in 13
14.
rounds. So around 14. So 14 rounds.
Yeah, 14 rounds. Okay. Oh, those are movies that you should take time to not be in the ring and, yeah, totally. I get it. Whatever.
But yeah, I agree with you. Lesnar's gonna go over Cena, which is just fine by me. So
yeah, me too.
I would have been fine either way. No matter, I'm fine if Cena kept it or if Lesnar kept it. I would have been fine either way.
Yeah. Okay, well, the next bit of news actually is 2 stories in one. The story came out a couple days ago that the the WWE wrestlers got their payoff, their
Mhm.
bonus payoff for WrestleMania, and I don't know about you, but I've actually been kind of concerned exactly how that was going to play out, considering how much money they've lost this year. And I'm sure a lot of the wrestlers were concerned too, because so much money had been lost. And surprisingly enough, reports are showing that a lot of the performers were surprised by how much they got for a bonus. Some of them were actually pleased because it was on par with what they expected. But no one has reported that they got less than what they were expecting. So that's good news for
Well, yeah.
them.
Well, that is good news. I mean, because they put their bodies on the line every single day. I mean, it's not like I'm not taking anything away from like other sports. Like football players, it's very high impact, or hockey, very high impact.
Yeah.
But I mean, think about these wrestlers who day in and day out. This is every football is a once a week thing. I mean, I understand that they practice and stuff like that, but the thing that wrestlers put their bodies through, every single day, performing and having matches, and it's a very gratuitous, process that they go through, but having their and they get paid a lot less, for what they do to their bodies, a lot less for what they do to their bodies than like football players, hockey players, basketball and whatnot. So for them to get that nice payout, and for them to get more than what they were expecting for their WrestleMania payout, just it makes me ecstatic for them, just because they work their butts off to entertain us all, and they deserve it.
Yeah, they do. They really do. I mean, it's not like they get paid millions. Well, some of them do, but it's not like all of them do. I mean, when you're in the NBA, like, I don't know if you heard about the story about Paul George breaking his leg yesterday.
Yeah.
It was a scrimmage on Team. It was a Team USA or something like that. It was a scrimmage and broke his leg and everything. I'm pretty sure the NBA takes good care of their players, and plus their contracts guarantee them money anyway.
Yeah.
WWE doesn't have that kind of structure, kind of the way that NBA does. I mean, because it's just one company. There's one company paying all these wrestlers to perform. And so for them to work hard and try to get to WrestleMania and get to a highlighting spot, it's really encouraging to hear that despite losses that the company overall is going through right now, they're still paying their wrestlers fairly as they can, basically being the only game in town. I mean, they just reported $14.5 million loss, which equals to 19-cent share loss. And as a result, WWE is cutting 7% of their workforce in Stamford, Connecticut, where their offices is. Now, if you want to know exactly what 7% of their workforce is in their office, it's 53 jobs out of the 762 they have right now. And that's, that kind of hurts. That kind of hurts. I mean, it's kind of a small office. It's got less than 800 employees, and to lose 53, that could be pretty rough. And they're cutting 53 just so they can actually turn a profit. So obviously the bonuses are going to take care of the talent that makes them the money. And then so obviously the operations part of it, which none of the fans see, is going to suffer for it. And that's unfortunate, but you got to go where the money is being made. And it's one of those balancing acts, and I don't know. It's one of those interesting stories that I found, to be just one of those, like, wow, I don't know where the company is going, and with Spike TV canceling TNA's Impact Wrestling, you're looking at WWE really as the only game in town, and they're losing money, and it's ugh.
Well, I mean, like you said, I'm not a business major or anything. I'm not very business oriented. So I don't know logistics behind why cuts are made here, cuts are made there, and whatnot. But as you said, you got to put your money where where your talent is. You got to put money on what's to build up what's bringing in that huge share. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So it's So, I mean, yeah, it's sad that, 50, would you say 52, 53?
53, yeah.
53 people lost their jobs, I mean, that's sad. It's sad for them and their families and everything. But, like you said, it's a business. It happens every day. But and at the end of the day, you have, what the saying is, sometimes you got to cut your losses. And you have to, move in different directions, just to stay afloat sometimes. And for them to, have to cut 53 people, like I said, is sad. But that's, if they can if they need to put those resources, towards what's going to make this company better and kind of, maybe turn things around, then I'm all for it, because, I love the WWE. I love this company, and I would hate to see them continue to fall. So if this is something that they had to do to try to turn things around, then so be it. And I'm all for it.
And me too. And and it's one of those things that for me, it's just it's seeing a company that we grew up with, fall on hard times again after being profitable for so long, and now, like I mentioned before, Spike TV canceled Impact Wrestling, so TNA has no flagship show. Well, they have no channel to show their flagship show.
Yeah.
So to me, that's the end of TNA, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, because basically, TNA is going back to, like you said, they don't have an audience. Well, they have an audience, but it's just going to be in house. I mean, they don't have that TV. They don't have a TV deal. They can't show their stuff, on TV. So I mean, they're not going to have a television audience anymore. They're going back to square one, and I mean, competition is always good. It always pushes, for you to do better. It always pushes for you to do better. But I mean, TNA was never ever going to be a threat to WWE anyway. No matter what. And
they tried. They really did try. But I'm not a business savvy person myself. But to me, I think if I were Dixie Carter, who runs TNA, I mean, now would be the time to try to get the most money out of it. And in my opinion, the way to get the most money out of her company would be to sell it.
Yeah, that's what I think. I agree with you. I think she should sell it. I think she should sell it to somebody who really understands the business. Because I don't think that she did. I don't think that her family did. I think it's somebody who really, really, knows the business, has the money to be able to back it up, and can bring in some very smart people that can put together an incredible product that can rival WWE. I would love to have two companies that I can watch, back in the days, when we were teenagers, and you could flip back and forth to be like, oh, I'm so excited about what's going on here, but I'm also excited about what's going on here. What do I do? And they're all on at the same time, and what do I do? Do I have to record one while I'm watching one live? And it's I'd love to have that to go back, but I just don't see that happening. And like I said, with Spike dropping TNA, it's we're the furthest from that happening that we've ever been. So I don't know. It's I hate to see any company go under. Like TNA, because I love wrestling. I love the sport of it. So I hate to see them going down and going under. But what can you do?
It's one of those things. I mean, because TNA was basically the home for a lot of people who were really good workers, but didn't have the most creative people in the world, to work with them, and the many times I watched TNA, the many times I just tuned in just to see how the program was doing, and just seeing the work rate of some of the people there, that were just like, it was amazing, because like the X division was actually a very surprisingly exciting division to watch, and. There's some really good people that, in my opinion, could make it in WWE, but that's the only place they can actually make the money that they wanted to make and get the programs that they wanted to make, because WWE tends to not if they don't see anything in you, or if they deem you not to be moldable into their kind of star, they're not going to do anything with you. I mean, that's kind of how I look at what happened with Alex Riley and what happened with oh gosh, who's that guy? Woo woo woo! I can't remember his name right now.
Zack Ryder.
Zack Ryder. Yeah, thank you.
Woo woo woo.
There's some really good workers in WWE that, in my opinion, would flourish in TNA because they would actually get a chance to do what they do best.
Right.
You know, and you know, so it's kind of sad to see TNA have to go through this and possibly close down, because if they have no TV audience, how are they going to sell a pay-per-view? You know.
Yeah, and that's true. And I don't know. You know what their buy rate was for like any of their, you know, pay-per-views. You know, I don't know if people actually bought them or, you know, or anything. You know, I don't know. You know, but it just seems like that they don't. TNA to me seems like they have like a like their own little cult following, and that's it. You know,
yeah.
they have their small little loyal fan base, but they don't have. But they don't have the resources to reach out, you know. Because I mean, if you think about it, the thing that always bothered me about TNA is I felt that they had great talent. They did have some great homegrown talent there, but I feel like they liked to hire the WWE's rejects or the, you know, not rejects the right word, but you know, anybody that maybe because everybody that WWE let go, it seemed like TNA picked up, you know, which
You're right.
But it wasn't always people that, you know, were hot commodities. These were people that were way past their primes, you know. And,
Scott Steiner.
Yeah, you know, he's fat. People that were past their primes, they picked them up, you know, and they picked up Eric Bischoff. They picked up Vince Russo, you know, to do their writings, and it's just those two, you know, they had a good run back in the late '90s, you know, but that's it. They had their like moment of glory, and it's far gone, but TNA decided, yeah, you know, we're still going to put our faith in them to put out a great product, but what do? They tried to do stuff that worked back then that won't work now.
Yeah, they sure did. But, you know, and then, you know, that's what they had to work with, unfortunately. Yeah. I mean, if you look at the history of TNA, they had a revolving door of creative people going in and out. You know, Vince Russo, obviously, Eric Bischoff. I think Jim Cornette worked for them for a while. You know, they didn't have a formula to work with that really stuck. You know, even Jeff Jarrett, who was the earliest top star and ran the company, you know, was also working creative, and nothing stuck. And I think that's another reason why it just didn't work. And you know, I'm a huge fan of competition because that brings out the best in everybody who's in the competition.
Oh yeah, I mean,
once again, we're not going to get that.
Yeah, we're not going to get that. We're not going to get that competition, and it's just, I think one thing that really hurt TNA is like, all right, I love factions, right? I think you know, but if they're used in the right way, you know. But I feel like TNA had a lot of factions that were, you know, that were just trying to be the next NWO.
What? What are you talking about? Surely not talk about like the Main Event Mafia or anything, are you? Or...
No, that's not at all. But I mean, think about it this way. Think about what WWE did with factions post NWO, right? I mean, of course they brought in the NWO. You know what? 2000 was it 2002, 2003, something like that, or was it earlier than that? Was it 2002?
WWE?
Yeah,
2002. Yeah,
2002, because it was No Way Out that they brought him in. But you know, even then, I mean, think about it. They had Evolution, very successful, and just even now they have the Shield, which is extremely successful. You know, I think the Shield is probably the most successful. You know, you have to call them a faction because there's more than two people. So, I think they're the most successful faction, you know, that they've had in a long time.
Yeah.
And the thing is, but they aren't trying to be the NWO. They're not trying to take over the company, and blah blah blah. It's just they're just there. They're just there to kick your butt and to show you that, hey, we're main eventers. We're here. That's it. It wasn't like, oh, we're taking over the company. We're gonna overthrow the boss. We're gonna do this. We're gonna do that. They're just like, no, we're here. We're gonna beat the crap out of you. That's it.
Yeah.
And I think that's the way to go nowadays. But I don't know. Anyway, I have no idea why I went off on that tangent.
Oh no, it makes sense though. I mean, because you're talking about how WWE did a faction right as opposed to rehashing an old idea.
Yeah.
And that's what TNA was well known for, and unfortunately they are now where they are, and then that could be a part of the puzzle of why they're in the situation they are now.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, and it's also difficult when WWE has such a stranglehold on some of the best workers in the in the business right now.
Oh yeah.
So
I mean, think about.
Speaking of, yeah, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, and I mean, just think about like lately, how you've heard, just hearing, certain things. Kurt Angle, who's TNA, has said he wants to end his career in WWE. I'm still gonna call him Bubba Ray Dudley because I'm not gonna call him whatever he is in TNA. But Bubba Ray Dudley, he has gone on record saying that he wants to, that he would love to end his, career in WWE. These are people that are in TNA. They're saying, hey, I want to go back to WWE. I mean, WWE is the be all end all for, yes, for wrestlers. I mean, that's it, and if you don't want to be in the WWE, then something's wrong with you. That's, but anyway, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, I mean, let's call it what it is. WWE is where you're going to make the money. I mean, there's a lot of guys in TNA that are way past their expiration date, and they know that they could probably get one last good payday before they're tapping out of the business. Mm-hmm. So, and speaking of tapping out, and I mentioned Stranglehold earlier, that's going to be leading us straight to our main topic of today's podcast: submission holds.
Submission armbar.
Oh my gosh, Archie and I are a huge fan of submission holds. We've put on probably almost every submission hold known to wrestling world on each other, just to see how it would work. And
you were more successful at it than I was.
Well, anyone who doesn't know and hasn't seen us, Archie is 6'2". I'm 5'3". So a lot of submission holds don't work on me that he would try to put on me because my legs are too short.
Yeah, your legs are too short, arms are too short. It's just you're just short. So nothing. So nothing really. I could never really get a good handle on you. It's just you're just, I don't know, man. Of course, I have long arms, I have long legs. So it's very, very easy to put me in some sort of, submission maneuver, whether or not it was a sharpshooter or you're one of your favorites, the Texas, the clover leaf that you always like to put on me. And you have to have long legs for that stinking clover leaf. And I could never stinking get you in the clover leaf because I could never get your ankle past your knee, past the back of your knee. And I was just, drove me insane.
Well, you mentioned the sharpshooter. The sharpshooter is one of the first ones I ever saw, and it became instantly one of my favorites.
Yes, me too.
How unique the maneuver is. And the couple times you actually got it on me, I remember distinctly, like, that's why it hurts. That's why that submission hold hurts. It's not the crossing of the legs. It's your dang back.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's like, I think there's only a very few times that I've been able to actually properly get your legs in the right way for the sharpshooter, to where, okay, I've got this locked in. I'm not talking about like the Rock type sharpshooter. Okay, I'm talking like, hey, I got Bret the Hitman Hart sharpshooter on you, and you're not going nowhere. Right. And not going nowhere. Good Lord. Word crimes.
Wow. Tennessee.
Oh. Man, sorry about that. Man, that's terrible. My wife's
Yeah.
my wife's a language arts teacher. I should know better than that.
You could say "ain't not going nowhere." How's that?
Yeah. Wow. But
triple negative. So,
triple negative.
Boston Crab, was also a favorite.
It was also a favorite, but then again, legs are so short, and it's hard to kind of get my arms around your legs or your ankles or whatever, and to be able to kind of lock my hands together, to get you in that Boston Crab is just, man.
Yeah, but
submission. I love submission holds. I love submission holds, man, but I just couldn't. I had no success.
Well, you did, because you had to, and not just me. I mean, just think about the logistics of like a Boston Crab. It's a very simplistic.
It is
submission hold. It's not hard to put on somebody, especially if they're normal size to you. But it's a very successful hold throughout the years. I mean, I could think of model Rick Martel and Chris Jericho as being my more favorite practitioners of the Boston Crab.
Yeah, and the innovation that Jericho had with it, with the line tamer part, especially on like the smaller his smaller opponents, not completely flipping them over on their stomach, but rather, just kind of halfway turning them and then just leaning back and digging his knee into the smaller their back. I mean, man, that was just beautiful. When he could get that just right on some of those opponents, I was just like, man, he looks like he's going to kill them. I mean, it looked painful.
And since this is a podcast, if you don't know what we're talking about, I strongly suggest going on YouTube and checking out Boston Crab with Rick Martel, and then also searching for Chris Jericho's Lion Tamer or Walls of Jericho, and specifically look for when he would put it on guys like Rey Mysterio or Juventud Guerrera, or when he would put the Walls of Jericho on someone like Rhino. Those are three really good examples of like how he innovated the Boston Crab into his own version. He would kneel. Sometimes he'd put his knee right into someone's back, and it's just a high angle Boston Crab. So it's not just you're pulling on someone's legs and wrenching their back, you're also contorting their neck. Mm-hmm. And it was a very beautiful move. And unfortunately, a lot of the big guys that he wrestles now just can't do it too. And that's the nature of the beast when you're only like 5'11", 6 foot, and you're wrestling guys who are 6'7", 6'8". And can't really put the move on them. One of my favorites, and once again, I don't want to endorse him. I just want to endorse the move. Chris Benoit's Crippler Crossface has been a longtime favorite of mine.
Hey, I think that's probably one of the few that I could actually get on you.
Yeah. Once again, YouTube it. It's a beautiful move. It's a beautiful move because you can get it from almost any position. You can get on anybody. There's no restriction on height. You can, I saw Benoit do it to Rey Mysterio all the way up to the Big Show, and it's a combination arm lock and wrenching the neck. Mm-hmm. And I've actually read biographies where people say, that I've had that move put on me by Benoit in the world, and you couldn't tell because just the way they're selling it and the way he's selling the move, it looks the most painful move that I've seen, and it's a long-time favorite of mine.
Mine too. I mean, I like you said, I'm not endorsing him at all, but the move is a beautiful, beautiful thing, and it looks very, very, very painful.
It is painful. You've put it on me.
What?
Yeah. Another one of my favorites has actually been it was absent for a long time, and the biggest thing is that it had to be used by a big guy, a really big and strong, powerful guy, and it lay dormant for I dare say about 15 plus years, and then a world champion brought it back because it worked for him, and so the Great Khali brought back the Khali Vice, which is basically squeezing the head.
I couldn't be this. I couldn't have been that lucky, could I? No.
So the move was innovated by a guy named Crush. And
This cranium crunch. Come on.
okay, I'm sorry. That was a bad joke. All right, another one I'm thinking.
Terrible.
Sorry, I just.
All right. How about submission moves that can only be used by crappy wrestlers? That's what it should be.
All right. Well, what about you? Any suggestions for submission holds? Favorites of yours?
I would have to say, right now, let me just say, I've never really been a big fan of the camel clutch, just because I don't know, it just looks lazy.
Depends on the person putting it on. Yes.
Yeah. Looking at you, Scott Steiner, but the way Rusev does his, just looks so good. Lord, I swear he's gonna break the person in half, and then I'm cringing while I watch him put it on because it just looks nasty, and so right now that's one of my favorites. Just favorites of him, because he does it so well. But that is, I want to say that one of my all-time favorites it has to be the Cloverleaf, just because I love submissions, that involve that kind of look like the sharpshooter will always be my favorite submission, just because just the way Bret Hart did it growing up, it was perfect. It was a perfect looking submission. But the way Dean Malenko did the Cloverleaf, absolutely gorgeous looking move.
Yes. Gorgeous
looking submission move. And nobody, in my opinion, no one ever did it better than him.
I agree.
That's just the way I look at it. I mean, Sheamus does it now sometimes.
He does?
And I'm just like, oh, Sheamus. Yeah, he does. Every once in a while, he'll pull out the Cloverleaf.
What? Come on, Sheamus.
And
bring back the running
and when he
bomb. Jeez.
Yeah, and when he does it, I was just like, Sheamus, you're drunk. Go home. It's just, stop using the Cloverleaf. Because in my opinion, Dean Malenko will always be the master of that submission hold. But that is Cloverleaf has always been one of my favorites. I do like the armbar. Armbar.
But armbar by who though?
Nobody is specific. I was just. I do like Del Rio's armbar submission. I think Del Rio looks. I think that's a perfect submission hold for him.
Yes.
I like the way he sets it up. But yeah, I mean I'm trying to. There's so many submission holds, man. I'm trying to think of, and you just. Another submission hold I've always really loved, Rings of Saturn.
That's a fantastic submission hold. Oh, I love it.
Love that submission hold. Rings of Saturn.
I especially love
Saturn
putting that
was
on
a
you.
very.
I remember putting that on you and then giving you the claw at the same time. That was.
Yes. Oh my gosh, I hated you so much for that. Give me the claw right in my chest, and I was just like, and those of you who don't know what the know what the Rings of Saturn submission hold is, we're just telling you to like Google and YouTube stuff. But YouTube, I don't know how in the world, Rings of Saturn submission, I guess is what you would.
Perry Saturn Rings of Saturn.
What you would look at a Perry Saturn Rings of Saturn. There you go. And basically, it's a move where he puts you're on the ground, and one of your arms is kind of like underneath your body, while the other arm is being kind of wrenched the other way. So your arms are basically, being pulled in opposite directions. But your arms are completely trapped.
Yep.
You can't do anything.
Nope.
You can't do anything. And if you try to move, like move your legs or try to gain some sort of, different position, all you're doing is you're pulling on your muscles. So it hurts even worse. So the only thing you can do is just freaking lay there. And but on top of that, Rue decides to, if If you ever watched Liar Liar and the Claw, if any of you've ever seen that movie, the claw's coming at you. Basically, that's what he did. Basically, would do that claw, dig his hand right into my chest, and just kind of shake it and vibrate it, and it's just basically. And then I can't tap out because my arms are... There's no way for me to tap out because my arms are being held. Even if I say I quit, it didn't really matter.
Okay, so...
Because he would still do it.
Let me clarify exactly what that was all about. See, instinctively he wants to pull his arms closer to him to protect himself from the claw, but since he is trapped and both of his arms are incapacitated, he's actually making the submission hold worse for himself.
Yes, but I can't help it because all I want is for him to stop doing that stupid claw to my chest. And so it was just like, which is the lesser of the two evils here? Which is going to cause me the least amount of pain? Oh, and the claw thing wasn't painful. It would tickle the crap out of my chest. And it just, oh my lord.
But he's pulling his arms and making it the submission hold worse. See, if you haven't been able to tell yet, Archie and I, long history of wrestling on trampolines, on floors, and everything. And some of the things that would guarantee that we're not going to hurt each other the most with, surprisingly, is submission holds. And so we actually would do that a lot. And
yeah.
And that's actually how we found out that the figure 4 leg lock is most effective, and turning on your belly does nothing to reverse the pressure.
It does absolutely nothing to reverse the pressure. No matter what you see on TV, it does not help to reverse the pressure because we have tried numerous times to roll over on our stomach. It doesn't reverse the pressure. And if you think about it logically, you would kind of come to that conclusion in your brain. Because your legs, it's not like they're switching positions. Mm-hmm. It's not like, okay, all right, my legs are trapped right now. And it is hurting and putting pressure on the top of my kneecap.
Yes.
Let's see if let me turn on my belly really quick. And I mean, who came up with that? Which wrestler was like, hey, you know what would probably work? Let's try turning on our bellies. And maybe the crowd will, and then the crowd will get into it and say, oh man, he must not be hurting anymore. All right. All right. He's out of it. He's got it. Because it does nothing.
No, it doesn't.
Nothing.
Nope.
It's terrible.
Oh.
Oh man, but I'm sorry, I'm still just thinking about that. Just how many times I've seen that on TV, and then especially Ric Flair just overselling the turn after his figure 4 has been overturned, and just him just like shaking that white hair, mm-hmm. When it was long, yep. And his arms just flailing all over the place. Rick, that's okay. You don't just stop.
He was a good performer in his day, a real good performer.
Yeah, he was.
I mean, that was part of him making whoever he was in the ring with look good. And oh man, it's funny because I keep thinking of like the first time he wrestled Sting. And Sting with his Scorpion Deathlock, which is the same thing as the Sharpshooter, versus the figure 4. And I don't know. I just remember watching it and just really enjoying, just like the drama and everything. And submission holds played a huge part of that match. And so, yeah. Well, I mean, I think that's gonna do it for us. I mean, we talked about some submission holds that we liked. Any submission holds you hated? And besides the Vice or the Cranium Crunch? I mean, I can tell you right off the bat, I never was a fan of the sleeper hold. I never really enjoyed that.
Yeah, the sleeper hold, and I'm not gonna get started on John Cena's STF. Not gonna get started on it. Not gonna even go there.
No?
All you wrestling fans know what I'm talking about.
What?
And if you're over the age of 12, you know that he does it wrong.
What?
So, so we're like I said, I'm not going there. I'm not going there because I will talk about it forever. All right. So we're gonna end this podcast here because I have to go grocery shopping with my wife, who did open the door during the 20 minutes into the podcast and whispered, "I'm bored." So
we're gonna end this here. So thank you for joining us on this podcast. If you have any ideas,
yes, thank you so much.
If you have any ideas of submission holes that you liked or didn't like, or we missed something that you guys thought was worth mentioning, definitely comment on our on this on YouTube, or just tweet us on AppenRoid at AppenRoid. We actually started a Tumblr page, but we're kind of figuring out how it works, so don't rely too much on that. But please comment, favorite, subscribe, share. There's so many topics left to talk about when it comes to wrestling, and we're gonna keep.
We haven't even scratched the surface.
Nope, we're just gonna keep this going. We have also our Put It Away series that we're keeping alive as well. We have some new game videos to show you guys. So thank you so much for joining us. We're going to keep putting this out. So anything else you want to plug, Archie?
No, I think you've pretty much covered most of it. Also, one more thing. I did figure out how Twitch works now. So I kind of tested out the Twitch channel earlier. And so yeah, anytime that we go live on Twitch with our gaming, it will automatically let you know if you keep up with our Twitter account. It will automatically say, hey, AppenRoid is live, playing such and such on Twitter, or I mean on Twitch. And also, but if you don't catch any of the Twitch streams, they will automatically be archived on our Twitch channel as well as on our YouTube channel. So if you didn't catch the live version, you can always go back and catch it again. So, but that's about it. That's all I got to plug.
Great. Well, thank you again for joining us. Once again, I'm your host. I'm Rue, and with me as always is...
I am Archie.
Great. So, we'll see you next...
Great!
We'll see you next time, and have a good day.
See you later.
Bye.